RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, statements, or opinions of its guests, advertisers, or even its viewers. The information contained in this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice. An appearance on this show is not necessarily an endorsement, and as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good afternoon, Patriots, and welcome to another edition of Occam's Razor. As always, I'm your host, RP. Joining me live in the studio, my good friend and co-host, M3 Thods himself. Do me a favor, guys. Don't forget to like and share this broadcast. Help us break through the algorithm. If you're not aware, if you go to my channel page, I just put up a new trailer, and it goes through my entire schedule of shows. So if you are a person who might be confused about when a video is coming out or how many videos I do a week, you can very quickly and easily see by going right there. I encourage everyone to make sure you turn on notifications, all notifications, because there's a slightly better chance than nothing that you will receive one when I put a video out. Thank you everyone for being here. Elise, what's up? I actually saw that. Yeah, very crazy. There is just something wrong with some people in this country. The debate, as far as masks are concerned, is dead. We're going to be destroying that here on this show today. Do me a favor, sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a very brief word from our sponsor. Nationwide spending on riot gear has soared 114% in order to combat the violent riots and protests happening all around the country. A reported $28.6 million has been spent by the federal government on non-lethal weapons and armor for the Justice Department, Homeland Security, and other agencies. Tensions in the U.S. have never been higher. Protest the insanity and keep yourself and your family safe with your own non-lethal weapons. My family and I trust the Fighter Flare flashlight. The Fighter Flare is a solar-powered, all-in-one tactical flashlight with over 800 lumens. It's just as useful for being seen from 500 meters away as it is an extremely effective self-defense tool to blind any oncoming attackers from a distance. The Fighter Flare also comes with 4 unique lighting modes, including a life-saving emergency strobe light, and you can charge your phone from anywhere with it using the built-in USB port. The Fighter Flare flashlight is an all-in-one lifesaver, and I wouldn't go anywhere without it, and neither should you. It truly is the first tool I'll go to in any emergency. Go to fighterflare.com or click the link in the video description or pinned comment below. You'll get 50% off plus free shipping on your own Fighter Flare flashlight. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. What's up, my dudes? Thank you so much for joining us. Methods, how are you today, buddy?
Man, I'm doing good. Just ready for another show.
I am ready too. You know, the last couple of days I was straight exhausted from that rally, but I think my body has finally caught up with me, and I'm feeling nice and refreshed yesterday. I got more sleep yesterday than I normally would, and I am so grateful for it. I feel really good today. You guys, I hope that you are feeling good as well. Today's Thursday. The week is almost over. I practically can't even believe it.
Yeah, we've had so much news breaking this past week and stuff. I mean, you're tired from a rally. I'm sure a lot of us are tired from the overload of the news going on. I mean, I can appreciate it, but geez.
Believe me, the overflow of news is another aspect to it. The rally is just the start, but my mind and my body are fatigued in a couple of different ways. The information that has been just shoved down our throats these last 2 weeks. Our favorite or non told us to pay attention to both weeks. Last week we had the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This week we have this bombshell report coming out from the Senate detailing a myriad of improprieties, shall we say, by Hunter Biden and his family. Not just Hunter, but his family. The connection to human trafficking, that was something that I didn't personally foresee. I guess I've heard a rumor before about Hunter paying ladies of the evening, but they framed it in such a way so that it was more than just Hunter getting his rocks off, if I can be crude, just paying somebody to spend some time with him. He actually diverted money from ill-gotten gains to human trafficking networks. That was a powerful statement.
100%. And I can appreciate the rocks reference because him and crack and all. But...
it was a double entendre.
Right. Yeah, I can appreciate that. But yeah, they always try to downplay it. And we're going to talk about it later on, or we might get into it soon about how the media is trying to dodge certain aspects of that. And I had said it on Twitter, how convenient of a riot to happen the same day and it take over the headlines.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that morning about the report. There's all that damning information in it. And then now we have wall-to-wall coverage of what went on yesterday evening.
Yep. Well, Soldier American says, breaking from Fox News just now, Durham investigation includes Clinton Foundation. What a coincidence. There are no coincidences. That is the first story that we're going to be talking about today. This was actually initially broken on Twitter, the first time that I saw it, by Tom Fitton. Tom Fitton let us know that there were grand juries subpoenaed to target Clinton Foundation, and this is all part of the Durham investigation. Now, the reporting initially that we got in Tom Fitton's tweet is from the New York Times. So this is like the Hunter Biden situation. This is a story that they can't afford to not report on. So what do, Methods? They have to put their own unique spin on it.
Yeah, so as I was reading through this article, you can kind of see where they insert their own opinions and twist things.
Yeah.
But you just take away the fact that they're having to get into grand jury stuff. I know you're about to explain everything going on.
Yeah.
But just as he's explaining it, think about just the key points of what actions are being taken.
Val Kimber says, Hunter says, release the Kraken. So they open up the article saying that from the beginning, John Durham's investigation has been politically charged, immediately trying to lay that seed of doubt, letting you know that the only reason, and the only reason at all, that this investigation could somehow ensnare Hillary Clinton or her foundation must be on a political basis, the same way that they tried to lay those seeds of doubt in an investigation that might involve Joe or Hunter Biden. It can't be because of any crimes that have been committed. It certainly couldn't be from any public corruption or diverting of funds from Haiti or the trafficking of children by Laura Silsby, and nothing like that. It has to be politically motivated. Now, President Trump, obviously, this was one of his major campaign promises, saying that if he was president, Hillary Clinton would be in jail. Now, John Durham and his team putting together an investigation that specifically targeted the Clintons, it makes a lot of sense. Now, I want you to think back to John Huber when his team came in with that DOJ plane and got all of that information from the Clinton Foundation, 2 jumbo jets full of paperwork and records taken directly from the Clinton Foundation. We've said this before, Methods, but I think that John Huber was initially a sort of head fake. In the same way that Durham has several other U.S. attorneys working underneath him doing certain specific aspects of this investigation, I think that John Huber was doing the same thing. It's just that at the time, most people were not aware of John Durham or the specific nature of his investigation. So basically, they are trying to put the comparison between the investigation into Hillary Clinton against the investigation into President Trump. It's only happening because President Trump wants some sort of revenge, basically, because he's having himself looked at. Now, they suggest here that they don't know exactly what the investigators were looking for. but they were looking into the Clinton Foundation, and they do believe that the results of the investigation into the Clinton Foundation is going to be a major part of the findings and indictments that are sure to be released by John Durham and his final investigation, as it should. You know, Hillary Clinton has been embroiled in this thing from the very beginning. And what did our favorite Anon say? What's the best way to get evidence to come out is through discovery. All right. So let's say that John Durham knows that he wants to look into Hillary Clinton. So he goes and, he uses the tactic of discovery to bring this information into court. We have evidence presented that also allows him to look for a variety of other types of evidence and to have these myriad of other crimes revealed and brought to the forefront. It's pretty incredible.
Right. And it would fit into his purview entirely, to use that favorite Mueller word, that the fact he's looking at the origins of how they got this started on the Russia collusion stuff, the Steele dossier, but they have to prove intent if they're going to charge anybody. So they have to look at what was going on during that time. Mm-hmm. What was also happening at that time was the mid-year exam investigation into the Hillary Clinton emails, which would be tied into the Clinton Foundation, stuff like that, because of the State Department and all that mess. So the fact that he would have to look into that and understand why they would not pursue an investigation. We all know why, but not really pursue it in the mid-year exam into Hillary Clinton. But then they go very, very much after Trump and this side of things with the Steele dossier. So like you said, any evidence that happens to turn up in that, and then you say, well, this would have been covered up, might have been the intent of why they weren't wanting to go any further in the investigation into Hillary. And then they would be like, okay, who knew about this information? Well, Comey would have known about it because he was the head of the FBI, followed the bouncing ball. And then now you've got evidence introduced legally.
Yeah, exactly. Now, and here's the thing. The investigation into the Clinton Foundation began in earnest under the Obama administration. There are and there were certainly FBI agents that wanted to go after Clinton. They understood that she was dirty, that she was involved in all kinds of illegal things. And it was people like James Comey, people like Andrew McCabe that stalled the investigation and basically put the kibosh on it. They tried to get subpoenas into the Clinton Foundation back in 2016. Now, because it was stalled, it carried over, and then Durham comes in, and then he can take a look at that initial investigation. And then in 2018, that's when he got a grand jury together and got subpoenas together to go in and continue to look at the Clinton Foundation and all of the wrongdoing. Now, this is another thing. They consistently seed the story with bits of information saying, well, the crimes alleged of President Trump and the crimes alleged of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton are in no way comparable. Actually, they are not comparable, but not in the way that they are trying to imply. It's the crimes of the Clinton Foundation that are the real actual criminal acts, like the stuff that needs to be paid for. Everything that has been alleged against President Trump has been baseless. It's been absolutely without merit. They've never been able to make anything stick to President Trump, and it's not because he's slippery. It's not because he just has good lawyers. It's because there's no evidence. There is nothing that they can point to that is going to allow them to get an indictment or to get any kind of charges. Now, right now, they're bringing Eric Trump back into court, and they're forcing him to answer for apparently what went down with the Trump Foundation, which they just shut down because it was easier than having to fight these people. They were already working to save the entire world. They didn't need to worry about the foundation. They can always start it over again. But you can tell they're going to try to get Eric Trump and nail him to the wall. It's the exact same tactic they tried to use against General Flynn. They're going to try to put President Trump's kids in prison so that they can get him to stop the investigations that they have going on into all of these top-level cabal members. I'm really looking forward to this. Now, here's the thing. Grand juries, it's often been said, grand juries can indict a ham sandwich, all right? And the thing about it is that Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation, this is an entire party sub. Okay, this is not just a ham sandwich. This is enough food to fill a football stadium, okay, whether it's, football or football. Same thing, okay? It is a giant amount of evidence and criminal activity, and if John Durham has impaneled grand juries to go after Hillary Clinton, although I can't tell you I've seen the indictments. I know there's indictments there. I can tell you explicitly I know that there are nearly 200,000 sealed indictments out there right now. And if anybody was going to have indictments brought against them, I believe it would be Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation, because we know about the crimes they've committed. Think about all of the evidence that was gathered in those 2 jumbo jets by U.S. Attorney Huber. You know, what do you think the chances are that they were able to dispose of everything? You know, if they got all of that paperwork, then they undoubtedly they had enough people to go through all that paperwork and to piece it all together. And then you look at things like, remember that testimony by those forensic accountants that came before Congress? I mean, they were able to determine that crimes were committed. They were able to show that there was evidence to say that they did illegal acts, and they used their foundation as a personal piggy bank. So if we have the combined might of the U.S. Justice Department, and we have new blood in the Justice Department, people like John Huber, people like John Durham, people that are loyal to President Trump and are working to actually go after the real bad guys, this is going to bear fruit. I guarantee it. We're going to see indictments for Hillary Clinton in the Clinton Foundation. That is my call.
Right. And I'll agree with that, too. I do believe we'll get something. And I know that we live in this world of we keep talking about something happening and we haven't gotten there yet. But if you could feel the vibe of at least the last few weeks, we're getting to a tipping point on something. Mm-hmm. And there's enough like ammunition on our side that can just cause hell for the left. But yeah, I agree with you. And for anybody that wants to, that's like, well, why haven't they done anything with the Clinton Foundation yet? Go look at the list. They still have it published of the top donors to the Clinton Foundation, which you would then assume that they were conspiring in some type of illegal activity. We're talking about high up names, high up entities and corporations. This is a global scale, money laundering type payoff information, pay to play things going on. And it would have been such a big deal that it would take these many years to investigate. Because if we're investigating what went on during the Russia, the special counsel investigation, and then also looking into what should have been investigated with Hillary Clinton, and then you turn over a few rocks there and you see where that goes, and you see where that goes. And what we're seeing from this is that they want to get to a certain point before they pull any triggers on or certain arrests or doing releases of information. They got to get to a point, because think about what the media does. Think about what the Democrats do. They're full blown lying to us. They have no problem spinning.
Yeah.
You know, even when our favorite Anon says that the stuff coming out is going to be impossible to defend, well, it doesn't mean that they're not going to try. And you can see how they can get certain people to jump into riots and stuff that are even organized based off of a media lie.
Absolutely.
So they have to handle it and get to a certain point before they open up that chapter of arrests and stuff going on. That's at least what I fully believe.
And we're actually going to give some supporting information in regards to that theory. I believe it as well. That's something I've often said. And I've said this before too, and I don't want anybody to be offended, but as conservatives, we are so eager for justice to be done. Why? Because we have sat back and essentially been trampled all over by the left for the last 8, 12, 14, 16 years, however long it's been. The government has consistently trampled over our rights, and people like us are the ones that get burned, okay? The IRS comes after us. You've got people like us ending up in solitary confinement, going to jail, people who are friends with Donald Trump, people who believe in the president, getting arrested, getting charges filed against them. That's because those people are willing to break the law. Not the people getting charged, but the government, those members of the government that are making sure that these people get in trouble. They're willing to break the law. They're willing to go outside the system and to not pay any homage to how things are supposed to work. The people that are in charge right now, trying to go after the other guys, the actual bad guys, they are following the letter of the law. And yes, there is a method to that madness. They have to do it a certain way, because otherwise they completely disgrace the way that the Justice Department and the system is supposed to work. We can't have that. We must not be as bad as those people. We have to prove that we are better, because we want to preserve our republic. We want to preserve our country and our way of life. We cannot slip to their level. As Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. But I don't know if she was talking about that necessarily. Either way, that's how I feel about it. And we've been so hungry for justice that people have just gotten to the point where they're like, I don't care. I just want to see it. Even if it means somebody getting pushed off a cliff or something, you know? I mean, people being handled in a way that honestly is not the best way to do it. I want things to be brought to court in a nice, orderly manner, and I want to know that there is a chain of collection for that evidence so that we can prove in a court of law that these people did the crimes that we are certain they did. So going back to the Hillary Clinton situation before we round out that idea, there is new information coming out from Paul Sperry at Real Clear Investigations, and this might have something to do with why the investigation into her was squashed back in 2016. But it turns out that the FBI was aware of, they became aware through classified channels that Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin had explosive compromat. That was the term that they kept using when talking about the blackmail material that supposedly existed on President Trump, on Hillary Clinton back in 2016 when she was the Democratic nominee for president. This is dirt that would have rocked her campaign, yet Russia chose not to release it. The FBI possesses this anti-Hillary material, but it keeps it classified. It knew that Russia could blackmail her, but they kept it quiet. Okay, once again, projection at the highest level. They were pointing to President Trump as being the person who could be blackmailed, when in actuality, it was Hillary Clinton who would have been blackmailed. She was truly the candidate of choice for the Kremlin. And, you know, I mean, this is an international game of one-upsmanship. If you have a leader of a powerful country who has blackmail material over the leader of another country, and you let them know that you possess it, then that puts you in a significant advantage in terms of global geopolitical strategy.
Right, and it's back to the whole projection thing. All the stuff that they're investigating now, all the crimes that we're talking about here, the potential crimes, alleged crimes, this would have been known before the election. Anybody could have dropped this bomb on her campaign and blew it up like what they're talking about here. But they were doing damage control to make sure to shoe her in, because shoehorn her in the situation, because they know Trump getting in would then be what we've seen over the last 4 years. It's all about the American people taking the power back, peace in the Middle East talks, and it actually happening. You know, the North Korea stuff. We could go on and on and on. That they knew where that was going, so they would have had to do all this damage control. And what Paul Sperry is getting at now is that they're proving that Russia preferred, and many people have talked about this before, Russia preferred Hillary. Mm-hmm. They know that they understand that devil. They understand how to work with the devil, right? Mm-hmm. So bringing in Trump, he is that wild card. You really don't know where he's going to go with things. And at the very least, he's going to put his country first, when the rest of the countries or a lot of countries were able to grift us entirely, because of the deals being made, fat in the pockets of the politicians and stuff in our government, and then they can get away with what they want to. Mm-hmm.
And undoubtedly, with President Trump coming into office, not only would the corruption end, would the never-ending raiding of the American piggy bank end, and would all of these deals that they've been working to set up for years and years also fall through. But more than likely, whatever that compromat is would probably end up being released and could potentially result in charges for Hillary Clinton. And that's where I think this is going. Now, more than just the FBI knowing about this, the clowns in America, John Brennan himself personally covered this up back in 2016 when they released this, or I guess it was after 2017 when they released the Intelligence Community Assessment. He personally edited a crucial section of that intelligence report on Russian interference and assigned a political ally to take a lead role in writing it after career analysts disputed Brennan's take that Russian President Vladimir Putin intervened in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump clinch the White House. And this is according to two senior U.S. intelligence officials who have seen the classified material detailing Brennan's role in drafting the document. The FBI had the compromat. They covered it up. Somebody tried to put it into the intelligence assessment. Brennan overruled them, rewrote it, and made it look as if President Trump was the one who was compromised and that Vladimir Putin wanted to win. Knowing all of this, I don't see how anybody can stand by and say that nothing will be done. now that this information is out in the public, we have to make sure that we amplify it. People need to know. I'm going to cover this again at 6 o'clock because I want as many people to see this as possible. This is so important here. We have received more information about the full level of corruption taking place in the United States government in the last couple of weeks than we have in many, many months. So this is very important because the intelligence community assessment played a major role in getting the Mueller investigation together, in forming the public opinion, in the detailing of all of the various lies and propaganda that Adam Schiff and others in the mainstream media were trying to push down our throats. You know, this is an excellent argument you could take to somebody who says, but the intelligence community assessment. Well, guess what? We now have 2 whistleblowers coming forward who have actually seen the classified evidence and who can testify to the fact that John Brennan covered it up. John Brennan and the FBI. Now, I tend to think that this information more than likely is going to make its way into John Durham's investigation. And I want to remind you of something in regards to these 2 stories. What have we said before? When we hear about things in public, it's because the government no longer needs to keep it quiet. They no longer need to keep it silent because they've already made use of the information. So if it's being released to us in the public now, then that means that everything is already in the works, and there's nothing that these evildoers can do about it. They can't cover it up. They can't lie about it. The government knows. They've taken action, and I'm just waiting for those indictments to drop. That's just me, though.
Right, and I'm waiting because it's going to change the entire dynamic of what we're going on here, even amongst this movement that we have. When we could check off that box of seeing people actually indicted, you know, imagine hearing on the news that Hunter Biden was picked up for all the stuff that just came out and they formally indict him. Think about the party, the shift of energy going on, because we are in the midst of a lot of information breaking, but there is that one caveat of what are they going to do about it. So I can agree with that when people get frustrated. But also remember that all this information that's been breaking over the last few weeks, or the last several months, we're also going to have Comey testify next week.
That's right.
He's going to be coming through, and that'll be a fun body language thing to watch, how he dances around things. And I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't have any inside knowledge, if there's going to be even more stuff that breaks before then that they can specifically question him about, because then it's public knowledge.
Yep.
And there's been other points made too. Why would they call Comey if he can't talk about certain things because it's tied into an ongoing investigation, unless they're at a point now to where they can talk about it publicly? What's the point? Now think about all this information coming out about what Durham's looking into and all that. We're now learning. We're the last ones to find out. I would like to think, I don't trust Graham as far as I can throw him, but I would like to think that he was told to wait this long, even though we were looking forward to it back in December. Remember, before all the impeachment stuff was going on, or before Senate stuff, and he was told to wait, because I think what we will find out in hindsight, this is just a hunch, that a lot of these questions that we ask and people's demanding for answers and getting frustrated, we're going to look back and be like, oh, okay, we get that. We understand why they waited, because it's planned out in such a way. And I know even the word plan is a trigger word at this point.
Trust the plan.
Right. You know, everybody just twitched a little bit. But I think that we're going to kind of see when we look back on why it went the way that it did.
Clearly.
And if here's where me and Red Pill, and I'll speak for him, and I know he'll agree.
Go ahead.
This is when we will then come out and do the concerned fairy situation and talking doom prawn and all those things. Is if they come back, if Durham comes back and says, nope, it was good, carry on and continue on, America. Yeah, you would see an entirely different Occam's Razor show. But as of now, we really do believe in the stuff that we say on here. And we just want everybody to kind of, you can agree, not agree, that's fine. But this is how we feel watching this, and we could see it ramping up.
Absolutely. Now, we've often said that there clearly is a plan. There's a reason why they're doing this. There is a method. Once again, there is a playbook that they themselves are following. Now, a lot of people have been very upset, saying that we can't trust Christopher Wray. He's done nothing. Obviously, President Trump has said that publicly, but we all know that President Trump has a way with theater. He likes to have things play out, and it's not necessarily for us. I mean, he wants to keep the press and the bad guys off balance, too. You throw chum in the water, if you will. Well, Christopher Wray was testifying today before Congress, and he just happened to comment on the Durham investigation, and I think it might shine a little light as to the methods by which they are working. So let's go ahead and take a look.
Well, before you hit play, can I set this up real quick?
Yes.
Because I left it out on this clip because it was too long, and I know I would lose people's attention span if the clip was too long. Ron Johnson in this is discussing. He's frustrated because we know that, a lot of this happened before Wray, but there was remember that briefing that happened, I think, in March 2018, that they were told about some of the stuff that the Steele dossier was garbage. And that was under his watch. And that's where a lot of people that might have had faith or at least trusted Wray, quote unquote, that's where they lost it. So that's the questioning going on here. And then this is what came out of it when he was then asked about, well, is there going to be any punishments for what happened? Because we know that it was a lie that we were sold about Russia.
Absolutely. Just want to say a big shout out to White Hat and 412 and on, and thank you to all of my mods that are here helping out today. Let's go ahead and watch this clip, guys, and I want to hear what you have to say afterwards.
As far as disciplinary action beyond that, every individual who's referenced in the Inspector General's report at any level, even in passing, has been referred to our Office of Professional Responsibility and our Inspection Division for possible disciplinary action. Now, these tend to be people who are more at a line level, and as far as disciplinary action towards them, that has largely been a little bit on a standstill in order to accommodate Mr. Durham and his investigation. At his request, there are certain steps that we have to wait on in order to let him complete his investigation, with which we are, of course, fully cooperating, as the Attorney General has said quite publicly on a number of occasions.
So wait a second, did I hear that right? Christopher Wray taking directions from John Durham, not charging people so that Durham can finish his own investigation? We wouldn't want to tip their hand, would we? We wouldn't want to let them know that we have this stuff on them. We want to make them feel that they're at ease. Christopher Wray is doing what he needs to do to make sure that Durham can wrap his investigation up and gather all of that tasty evidence. Nom, 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 nom.
All right, that's another clip people need to grab. But so I know that we've said this before, and this isn't a "we told you so" type thing. This is Occam's razor. We're trying to bring it back to the most simplistic idea of a situation. So also playing the devil's advocate. Okay, Wray does come across that we can't really trust him, right? He's not following the law. He's just another suit up there just playing the politics stuff, dancing around words. But if he was told, and we've said this before, so the OG listeners, we're sorry to say this, but if he was told there's a timeline, you're going to stick to it, these are the words you need to say, and our buddy Shim on Twitter was pointing out that this hearing, he was saying a lot of the same words that he said in the last hearing that was recent. He has what he knows to say about this stuff. And he said before that they've sent anybody that was named in the IG report about all this stuff that has been forwarded to their prosecutorial arm of the FBI. But he has to remind people that a lot of these people have resigned or been fired, which we know our favorite Anonymous pointed out.
Yep.
So that would not be his thing anymore, because it then falls under the investigation of Durham. Mm-hmm. So if we want to work under the theory, now I'm not trying to make Wray a saint. He could be just doing what we need him to do and still be a jerk that we don't like. That's fine.
He very well may be a useful idiot, as many people who are deep state shills that end up in Donald Trump's administration continue.
Right. So if he was told, okay, well, hold on, there's a timeline. The only way to really knock out these people is to create such a haymaker of so many charges across the board that's getting everybody to where they have to do damage control on like 15 different fronts that shuts them up and justifies it to where everybody has to say, all right, I don't follow politics much, but I understand these people being arrested. Mm-hmm. Then so be it. This is what it would look like. Now, are we Team Wray right now? Am I getting a shirt made with that smug face on it? No. Like, it's not happening. But I can see the writing on the wall that that's a possibility. Now, we get to a point where Trump's like, all right, fine, I'm firing this guy. He's not doing things fast enough or whatever. He brings in a Matt Whitaker type situation or a Grinnell type situation and moves it along. Okay, fine. Ray is a garbage person. Yeah. But if he was told to wait, that he exactly just tipped his hand, because that's the first time he said that.
Yes, it is. All we were told was to trust Ray. Christopher Wray was sent into the FBI to do a job. And if the only thing that he was meant to do was to submit these people for criminal referral and then wait for Durham to do his job and not tell the bad guys what was going on, it looks to me like he's done it, okay? And as far as I'm concerned, I trust the president. I will say it till the ends of the earth. I trust President Trump. I trust his judgment. I trust John Durham. Now, somebody in the chat says, I don't trust John Durham, and that's fine. This is America. You have the constitutional and God-given right to have your own opinion, and that's fine. But we're all going to be here in the end when I believe the things that I'm saying are going to be proven correct. I'm not going to gloat, but I'm certainly going to celebrate. I trust President Trump. He put Christopher Wray in there for a reason. Our favorite Anon said to trust him. And today we learn that Christopher Wray is just not trying to screw the pooch by telling everybody what's going on. Durham has to finish his investigation. Durham's investigation is still ongoing. I don't believe that he would be going this long, this hard, if it wasn't for the fact that his investigation was going to bear a whole basket of fruit, and they were going to pass it out at the consignment ceremony for people going to Gitmo. So it's going to be an incredible day. Christopher Wray very well may be a traitor. He could have done some heinous things in his life. But I would like to remind everybody that in a corrupt system where basically everybody is corrupt, many of these people probably went into government not imagining that they were going to become part of the most corrupt system on the face of the earth. They thought they were getting involved to do some good. And then it gets down to the point where, what would you rather do? Would you rather have us destroy your career and kill your family? Or will you simply play along and look the other way when bad things happen? And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who would go ahead and do that. All right, I saw... there's a show on called Narcos that I saw a couple of years ago, and it's about the drug trafficking trade in Colombia. Now, basically, the reason that drug traffickers were so successful in Colombia, because they owned all the politicians. They owned everybody up to and including the president. So the entire system was corrupt. The war on drugs was a farce. They were simply going through the motions and allowing these guys to, produce and traffic cocaine and move it into the United States with the help of the clowns in America. All right, so how do you beat a system like that? If you are one man inside of a corrupt system, what are you supposed to do? All right, I have no idea whether or not Christopher Wray is a good guy, but I am totally willing to bet that if he was told to stand down, allow Durham to do his job, and perhaps he was trying to redeem himself, I can see it going that way. So time will tell. History will show whether or not Christopher Wray was ever a good dude, or if he was simply a gray hat. It might be a black hat, might be a white hat, might be a gray hat. I don't know. Right. Time will tell. That's the only thing we can do. And in the meantime, all we're doing is spitballing. I love having conversations about this stuff. I love having the opportunity to just, consider the possibilities, There's nothing I love more than talking about this stuff, obviously. But in the meantime, man, I feel really good about this situation. And I have been feeling good about this situation for a long time. And, I'm happy to be here with you guys. I'm happy to be able to have these conversations and to think about the possibilities. I feel that our country is closer to freedom now than it ever has been at any time in my lifetime, and I'm going to continue on walking in the sunshine with my rosy disposition and, thinking about the possibilities of wonderful things might be coming. I'm pretty excited about this. I think that there are going to be a whole bunch of people who want to keep themselves out of jail, and as a result, they're willing to talk. We don't know if Kevin Kleinsmith is spilling the beans on anything. We don't know if Kevin Kleinsmith has turned on anybody. We haven't actually publicly talked to these two secret witnesses talking about John Brennan changing that information and trying to pin President Trump as a Russian asset when clearly it was Hillary Clinton. But the information is out in the public now, and I guarantee you that we're probably going to see some people in Congress want some solid answers. Or we might just find the answers when John Durham releases the findings of his report, which equal a whole series of indictments for a variety of sleazy people who tried to sell out our country and who successfully did for many years.
Yeah, well said. Energetic red pill is the best red pill. Yeah, go ahead and pull up if you don't mind. And I want to give a pull up Q 2555 2555. Very interesting point. Somebody in the chat brought it up. Thank you for that. I can't say I don't know how to say her name. But
2555.
Yeah, Q2555.
Is this a Twitter profile?
No, Q as in the
post.
Q post.
Okay.
Yeah, post 2555. And hat tip to the person in the chat. I don't know how to say your name and I don't want to butcher it, but thank you for that. Read the bottom part of it. That is very, very interesting. Are you having a hard time finding it?
Yeah, because on QAG, when you search for the post number, it I got to do hashtag 2555.
Yeah, it's definitely worthwhile because if we want to stick with this isn't disinformation, this kind of plays into what we just heard from Ray.
All right, so we've got the House Oversight Committee release on the case study of Clinton Foundation. This is the forensic accountants we mentioned the other day, earlier in the show. Will another attempt to delay be made? Delay. Democrats control House. James Comey plus Loretta Lynch moves and countermoves, see something, say something, and then Whitaker, Horowitz, Huber, Wray, long meetings held within a skiff, unusual, usually indicate something highly important was discussed, planned. Now, is this talking about Whitaker, Horowitz, Huber, and Wray having a secret meeting inside of a skiff? I think so.
Right. So if we want to, once again, and we're not like everybody make your own decisions and think for yourselves on this, but if we're going to talk about this theory that Ray was told to wait, like he just said he did in a hearing, then that would have been discussed in the skiff as far as planning things out, because Huber would have been collecting information and then forwarding it over to Durham's investigation. The Durham investigation absorbed what Huber was working on and was, like you said, probably, a look over here type laser pointer for them to be looking, because then Durham's name was dropped and they all got terrified real quick. Mm-hmm. You had Whitaker go through, and that was during that time that he was involved. So thinking about those four players being involved, it's very interesting timing for them to have to talk something in a skiff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, Ruth in the chat says, if we have it all, why is it taking so long to investigate? Just curious, not complaining. Think about the sheer volume of criminal activity that was perpetrated over the course of decades by these people in our own government. I think that the reason it's taking so long is because they only have one shot to bring these people to justice, and it has to be complete, has to be expansive. It must include a variety of crimes over a series of many, many years. And it's all going to be dropped all at once. I don't think this is something that they can afford to drag out and have lawyers, delay and, make it go on for years. It's going to have to be just an incredible volume of crimes being charged against people so that even if they want to plead down a couple of those charges, they're still looking at a significant amount of time in jail. If not, the prospect of spending the rest of their lives in jail. That's my opinion.
Right. I mean, why does President Trump keep referring to 50-year charges?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if he's that confident and he's seen a lot of this information, he said a month ago that he saw some things from the Durham investigation that even kind of took him back by surprise. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do believe, for anybody asking in the chat, and I don't mind being wrong, I do believe we're going to see something out of the Durham investigation before November 3rd. Will it be all of it, all at like what we're talking about here? I'm not sure, but I think that we'll have more than a Kleinsmith before then.
Now, Leo says, which means we don't have it all. Just because we possess the evidence doesn't mean that they don't have to catalog it and determine how best to present it, and also to examine, how to bring it to court. I mean, they don't just take a box of criminal acts and throw it on a desk and call up a judge and say, hey, we're going to bring this evidence in. Let's go ahead and take a look. I mean, they have a way of putting it together. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I don't work at the DOJ, but I bet if there was anybody here who could attest to the way that a federal investigation works, I think they put a lot of time into it. So, I mean, I truly do believe that we have it all. It's just a matter of, tying it all together and figuring out how they're going to present it. And that's what's happening right now. That's my opinion. I mean, we have a ton of people working underneath John Durham, and as Meth has just said, we're talking about decades of charges in criminal acts here by a large number of people.
I've got a great example here.
Go ahead.
Cat Girl brought it up in the chat. Cat Girl, I'm assuming she says exactly. Rudy Giuliani's case against 5 crime families took 6 years. Now, I don't know as far as the investigation itself went, but I just looked it up real quick, and that trial alone went from February 1985 through November 1986.
Yep.
And we're talking about the mafia crime. Of course, that was a lot of aspects to it, but we're talking about using apparatuses of the government to spy on campaigns, as well as what were the crimes that they were doing that they were covering up and doing all that. So if you really step back and look at it, it would take this long. Having it all and then going through it all are two total different things.
Yep. Metal Makes Me Crazy says sometimes you need to hold evidence to use it at the right time. Once again, exactly. There is a method to the means by which they are bringing this information into the public arena. So I think that's enough talking about all that. That's my opinion. That's where I think we're going. I hope that we're going to see that information being made public very, very soon. I think that personally, I think it is necessary that we're going to have something drop before the election. I mean, I can't imagine how it's going to go after. I mean, these people need to be brought to justice, and I know everybody wants it. Now, with regard to information coming to light, obviously we just had this report dropped by the Senate on Hunter Biden, Burisma, Ukraine, corruption, all of it. Now, a new letter has been obtained by Catherine Herridge, one of our favorite journalists. It's from Jim Jordan, and it's directed to Director Christopher Wray, and he's asking about investigations on the allegations made against Hunter Biden in that Senate report, saying they had asked the FBI about its actions but have received no answer. Now, it makes a lot of sense that the crimes committed by Hunter Biden could also fall under the purview of John Durham's investigation. I mean, clearly, Ukraine has played a major part, and the people working for the State Department in Ukraine have played a major part in this coup, this purple revolution against President Trump. So it makes a lot of sense to me that the information would be held back as part of letting Durham doing his job. Now, in addition to that, Rand Paul is actually getting, in action, and he is submitting criminal referrals to the DOJ for Hunter Biden based upon the information found in that report, which, could be something that is unnecessary if it's already being done by John Durham, and maybe he just doesn't know. But I don't see anything wrong with it. But Paul was quoted as saying, "I think riding on Air Force Two and doing business is illegal. I think that is against the law and probably a felony. I think it's illegal to take money from a Russian politician's wife, $3.5 million. Was it reported accurately? I think the only way to determine the actual legality of this is to have it referred to the Department of Justice, so I'm going to send the report over. I don't know if the whole committee will vote for it, but I'm sending the report tomorrow to the Department of Justice, and we're asking for a criminal referral. So this is another thing that is going to have to go ahead and run its course. But I think it's pretty obvious with everything that was brought forward in that report, there are definitely crimes that Hunter Biden committed. I mean, everything that he was doing was unethical. That $3.5 million, that is an excellent point, because $3.5 million being paid by the wife of the former mayor of Moscow. Think about it. If it was Donald Trump Jr., if he received $3.5 million from the former mayor of Moscow's wife, that would be front page news. Everybody would be talking about it. But suspiciously, in all of the mainstream media reporting about this Senate report, the mainstream media is leaving out that one important fact. They are just completely forgetting to mention that $3.5 million payment. I mean, nothing in the reports from WAPO, New York Times, CNN, NPR, The Hill, Daily Beast, NBC News, Wall Street Journal, CBS, and Forbes, not a single mention of the $3.5 million. Why do you think that would be, Methods?
Because it destroys the Russia collusion narrative. It's got an actual number on it, which leads us to believe that they have the paper trail. Instead of just he took money bribes, they have an actual number.
Yep.
And they have to cover because it proves the crimes, and it all went under Biden's watch, who's running for president right now.
Right.
So it can't help the situation. And to the point of why this would fall, like he said, under the Durham investigation because of Ukraine, because remember where the Black Ledger about Paul Manafort came out? That came out through there. It came out through Ukraine. Think about the phone call releases of Biden talking to the leader of Ukraine, the previous president there. I mean, they were discussing this stuff coming out. It's all intertwined. It is that small of a world. And that's why it gets difficult, because if you pull on one string, it leads to a bunch of other stuff. Now, real quick, we've got 3,700 people here hanging out with us. Really do appreciate it. I see 1.4 thousand likes. If you guys don't mind turning that thumb blue, that would be great. And thank you for any donations that you guys are making. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. And in about 10 minutes, we'll go through any donations that have been received. Now, the other part of this is, the reason I think that they also specifically left it out is because there's no legal reason for somebody in Russia to just send a payment of $3.5 million to the son of the vice president of the United States. I can't think of a good reason for that to happen. There has to be something attached to it. And if they specifically talk about that $3.5 million, then it gets people wondering. People start asking questions. Why was $3.5 million transferred to Hunter Biden? What did Hunter Biden do with that money? And as Rand Paul says, did he report it accurately? $3.5 million is a healthy sum of money. And that is enough to push Hunter Biden into a different tax bracket, I would imagine. So hopefully he reported it accurately. But so I don't think they can talk about it, because not only does it destroy that narrative that they've tried to create about the Trump family and the president, but it also indicates some major illegal activity. You know, Hunter Biden was doing a lot of shady stuff as the son of the vice president, currying favor in other countries, opening businesses, starting LLCs, opening lines of credit with Russian, Chinese, and Kazakhstani nationals, and specifically receiving $3.5 million from the wife of the former Moscow mayor. Now, I have to think also that the payment being sent from the wife was itself some type of cover-up. You know, I mean, does anybody believe that Hunter Biden is that close with the wife of the former mayor of Moscow? You know, like they are just so, buddy that she's going to send him a $3.5 million check. Probably it was laundered through her to be sent to Hunter. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. And now I think that Durham has made Hunter Biden as part of his investigation, and I believe that Rand Paul putting forward these referrals is going to end up with something being done as well. Now, just getting back to the idea of that Mueller investigation and Russian collusion and all of that, this is another thing that goes back to Christopher Wray and trusting the president. Now, the president had that famous meeting with Robert Mueller, okay? Mueller supposedly coming in to interview for that job at the FBI. Is there anybody in the audience that believes that President Trump wasn't aware of Mueller's relationship with all of the people that were trying to go after him, or that President Trump wasn't aware that Mueller was ineligible for that FBI job? Now, a report has come out saying that President Trump and his team suspected that Mueller was in the midst of some cognitive decline, much in the same way that Joe Biden is right now. What if President Trump wanted Robert Mueller to be the special counsel? What if he knew that they were going to come after him and that they were going to throw everything at him, and that it was probably a good idea to have somebody who was in the midst of, some mental fog to be the one to do that? Just asking the question.
Right. I mean, there's a couple different ways you can look at that. What if Mueller was going there to try to get some kind of dirt to use. I
Yes.
mean, they were sending people around Trump's orbit all the time, trying to gather anything they could use. So what better way than to just go ahead and go up there and talk to him directly and see what you can get out of him, and then come out and maybe he would just come on later and say, well, Trump said this, that, and the other. I'm whistleblowing on him saying, crazy things about, war veterans or whatever that they like to say. I don't know. That whole thing is really suspect to me in general because of the timing. Why would he go up there? I don't know. That did play into a lot of the arguments around that time on, is Mueller a white hat? And I remember those days. But yeah, it's just curious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and other people involved in the Mueller investigation are kind of commenting on the fact that Mueller wasn't looking too good. Basically, they insulated him. And as I said just the other day, I mean, Mueller clearly didn't write the Mueller report. I mean, it was Andrew Weissman. Andrew Weissman was really the point man on all of this. Robert Mueller was like this, the head of state, the figurehead, if you will. He was there just to put a name and a face on it. I remember the way that they portrayed Mueller. He's this paragon of justice and this unflappable pillar of salt in the justice community. And he was unable to bend. He was going to definitely get to the bottom of everything that happened with, Russia collusion. And if President Trump committed any crimes, Robert Mueller was going to make him pay. I mean, he could barely wipe his butt, okay? He's in the same spot as Joe Biden right now. And it was clear when Robert Mueller testified that there was something different about him than there had been in years past. I mean, and let's face it, that's what happens. I mean, you get old like that, and especially if you're a big creep who's committed a bunch of crimes, I think that the weight of those crimes are going to weigh on you over the years, and especially as you get older, it's harder and harder to get out of bed, even if these people are evil. I think that they know the nature of their sins, and that's definitely going to be something that hampers them as they get to be later in life.
No, man, that was Mueller time. It was going to be big and huge. We all celebrated Mueller Christmas, right? Everybody? Y'all sing along with the jingle.
That's
I mean,
right.
I know I did. I was all about, it's all, you could see that was probably the saddest hearing to watch. And I mean, I didn't feel bad for Mueller because Mueller has Benghazi blood all over his hands as well.
Absolutely.
You can see that he probably, out of everybody, he's probably top contender for being forced into the situation that he probably just wanted to go out to the pasture and spend out his days. Him being dragged back into the mess. Now I'm glad for it. I'm not making any, I'm not forgiving him, but out of all of them, you could see him and Biden would be the top two that are being dragged into all this to save themselves, that they were not up to the job.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's sad when you look at it. I mean, these people are willing to use elderly and infirmed people just to, get their own needs met. All right, but that's enough on Mueller and the whole situation. Keep your eyes open on everything there. Also, the week's not over. I mean, we can have some big news tomorrow. Something tells me we're going to have some big news tomorrow. But Project Veritas is on the eve of dropping a new report in regards to voter fraud and ballot harvesting, stuff like that. So this is just something that I want people to be aware of. They say that it's coming next week. They're going to be releasing the biggest story they've ever done, and we should prepare to be shocked. Every time James O'Keefe and the people at Project Veritas put a report out, I think that it's always, the next biggest story they've ever done. So I want everybody to keep their eyes open, be ready for that one. Turn your notifications on for James O'Keefe because it's totally worth it. All right, so next I want to talk about a little bit more about the death of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, Method sent this story over, and if I hadn't seen it myself, I would have assumed that it was a 4chan operation, a total troll. But this is written without irony, without humor, and it is a big story on Huffington Post today. Normally, we wouldn't cover stories from the Huffington Post, but when you see the headline on this story, I think you're going to understand why we did this. The death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg pushed me to join the Satanic Temple. I am a 40-something attorney and mother who lives in a quiet neighborhood with a yard and a garage full of scooters and soccer balls. I am not the type of person who would normally consider becoming a Satanist, but these are not normal times. Does anybody believe that this woman actually exists? I mean, this isn't real to me. I mean, this still might be a 4chan troll, but I don't know. I mean, they don't name her. They don't give any type of, real identifying information about her. She just talks about how she became a Satanist because Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and she thinks that there's an existential threat to women as a result of that. I don't personally see the correlation. I don't understand how one could lead you to the next, but this is just insanity. And this is, once again, some level of predictive programming. I mean, imagine how many of these people are truly Satanists behind the curtain. Okay, now Huffington Post puts this article out saying that the death of Justice Ginsburg has led a self-respecting liberal woman to come and decide to join the Church of Satan, and then they rationalize it, giving all these reasons of why it's a good idea. So I think this is more than likely a recruitment vehicle for the Church of Satan, because we already have Satanists working behind the scenes. I'm going to drop the link, but Methods, I'd like to know your thoughts on this article.
Right. No, I can't think of anybody or seeing a video of somebody saying that like their lives were in shambles. They didn't have any direction. All hope was lost, but the Church of Satan really helped me through. I've never heard that. But I look at, first of all, I don't believe this woman exists at all. And if they have somebody actually interviewed, I think that it's all scripted. Even that quote you said,
yes,
when they add those extra points, like I live in a quiet neighborhood. I have a garage full of scooters and soccer balls. It's like, okay, how can we make this person relatable when we're talking about joining the devil in religion? But they also, if you look through this article, they link and source things from the Satanic Temple website.
Yes.
And and like you said, that it's predictive programming. It's manipulating people to get them to read this stuff. Because, I mean, they quote the 7 tenets.
Yes.
They talk about how, and they twist it so sideways, which is perfect for Satanism, because they try to say the reason what really pushed this person over the edge is because of the fact that RBG is dead, and more than likely, abortion rights are going to get, ended in the Supreme Court. That this person is turning to Satanism as a feeling of faith, and then they try to make the argument for the Satanism in this article. And I know that me and Red Pill, and I know with Mark Taylor, who will be on this Sunday, again, great timing for it. We can probably bring this article up to him.
Right.
We talk about good versus evil and making it that simplistic, and we talk about there being evil in this world. You have an actual an actual news company that gets quoted and turned in, like their articles that they write gets presented as evidence in our Congress. There's been HuffPo pieces used in Congress as evidence.
Yes.
And they're actually making a case for Satanism here.
They are. And now Whitehead says, over on this article becoming a South Park episode. I think it's a pretty good shot.
Right.
Now here's the thing. Remember recently there was that press release that came out from the Satanic Church saying that abortion was a sacrificial right, that they wanted to protect abortion because it was some type of sacrament that they had, like taking the Eucharist or drinking the wine if you're a Catholic. And it says here, as another headline quote, reading through the 7 tenets, I was struck by how closely they aligned with the unwritten code I had used to try to guide my own life for several years. I realized happily that these were my people and that I had been a Satanist for several years without even knowing it. But the whole reason she decides to become a Satanist is because she wants to protect abortion. And she believes that the next Supreme Court justice will undoubtedly be anti-choice, okay? This is another way they dress it up, I mean, they're talking about ending a human life and doing it in the most disgusting and deplorable way possible. And it was stated by this church that used that term loosely, that this is a sacrament of their religion. So, of course, they want to protect it. So I guarantee you they wrote this article as a recruitment piece, and they had one of their Satanist mouthpieces, namely here Jamie Smith, who is the guest writer of this article, put this out and they're hoping that they're going to get a big bump in membership and that they can continue to protect their sacrificial rights, such as the killing of babies, basically.
Right, and think about the timing of this article coming out, because this article came out, today, this morning, when Christianity is also about to be on trial when it comes to the Supreme Court pick. Yeah. We know this is coming because they have to attack that point, because they can't. She's a woman. It's going to be a woman. More likely, I'm going to speak that it's going to be Amy Barrett. I really believe so. That you have, the religion aspect tied into it. She's mother, all that stuff. They're going to have to find a different angle, and they've already chosen, when it comes to Amy Barrett, the religious aspect. So then conveniently, this article drops. It makes a case for Christianity is not all it's cracked up to be. Check out the Satanism stuff. That's the problem that we're going to see here, because that's literally dragging this into the light, that we're talking now about the articles being written that's teaching you about Satanism. It's so... We are at that point, and if that was part of the plan, which I believe it is, it's glorious that we've gotten this far, because this is what, especially when it comes to Satanism and stuff like this occult stuff, they work under secrecy. They don't want to be in the light. They'll kind of show it here or there, but they won't address it as much. They'll hide it in movies. They'll hide it in cartoons. They'll do all those things. But to be dragged out to the point that we're going to have this going on, and they're tying a headline to Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the Satanic Temple as a straight line, lets you know where we're at right now in this fight. This is spiritual.
That's right. Yeah. They're basically saying, who needs 10 commandments? We've got 7 tenets. It's so much easier. Less to remember. All right. So moving on, this is still about Justice Ginsburg, but apparently her funeral was, I believe this is today, just earlier today, and President Trump and Melania came to pay their final respects. Now, President Trump, he's a good man, so is Melania, she's a good woman, rather, so they came to pay their respects to Justice Ginsburg, and they were booed by the leftist lunatics at the funeral. Hold on, I just want to play this for you, how disrespectful of these people. BuzzFeed News totally had to get a clip. President Trump not fazed. He doesn't care what these people have to say about him. He's going to go and show up for this justice's funeral, and then you know what he's going to do? He's going to turn right around and nominate a Supreme Court justice who is going to usher in a generation of decisions which are going to be in the best interest of not only the American public and children, but also God the Father. All right. I love it. It's going to be an incredible, incredible show. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And whoever it is, whether it's Amy Coney Barrett or Barbara Lagoa, I think that President Trump knows exactly who to pick to put the right person there on the Supreme Court.
Right, and just like I'm talking about this religious aspect, I mean, the shrieks and screams of him standing there, just paying respects. I know that I personally don't have any respect for her. No. The stuff that her agendas, the stuff she passed through has caused irreparable harm for generations. But the fact that he's doing what he needs to do, and as far as the role of his job, it's fine. He went out there, but listening to that, and I put it out on Twitter, and a lot of people I know agree, it sounded like what I imagine the pit of hell would sound like.
Yes, it sounds like demons screaming in hell. Absolutely.
Right. It's such a, this, when they say we're watching a movie, how metaphorical is that to have that, to have demons screaming while the death of their person who was helping them murder, children in the womb.
Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh at all, but it's just it's that surreal. I have to step back and be like, yep, this is real life. Like I said, I haven't watched a movie from beginning to end in God knows how long, because all this stuff has got my attention way better.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, let me just do a couple of quick thank yous. Yesterday after the show, Gaffer Anon sent me a couple shirts. I put a tweet out, you guys. He sent me a couple of vape-themed shirts, so thank you very much, brother. Want to say that. He said, keep up the great reporting, watching today's show. And then Wisdom 101 sent for news. I appreciate you watching the show. And then also today, Dale says, for prayers, please. It is likely that I have the Rona. Dale, yes, most definitely we're going to pray for you, but I have some numbers that hopefully will make you feel a little bit better. Also, look into the holistic methods for taking care of your body if you are actually diagnosed with this sickness. And then Brenda says, thanks for all you do. God bless. Thank you so much, Brenda. I appreciate you. And then one more on Cash App. ZooQ says, for a great show as usual. I am glad that you're enjoying it. Let me just see if anything came through on PayPal. Let's see. Oh, White Hat. What's up, buddy? He says, Kosovo and Serbia just named their lake Lake Trump in Kosovo, winning. That's awesome. Lake Trump. Jim, thank you very much for that. Also, James Clark said Justice Sidney Powell. That was a couple days ago when we were talking about it. And that is all for today. So thank you guys very, very much. Now, the numbers we want to show you, we got to be so careful about how we say this. Because
we have a new drop. And and it fits on what we're talking about, and I don't think the chat will let us go without covering it real quick. All right, thanks for the heads up, guys.
Yeah, let me refresh. All right, so 4755, and we've got that flow chart of all of the fired and forced and removed people from the mid-year investigation. So obviously, James Comey, James Rubicki, Special Counsel Lisa Page, Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, Mark Giuliano, and so on and so on and so on. All of these people are gone. Now, we've got a link to the Fox News article that somebody called out earlier in the show, so we'll go ahead and pull that up just for reference. And Durham assumed parts of John Huber's Clinton Foundation review, which is the thing we've always said. John Huber passed that information off to John Durham, and John Durham just took over. Now, our favorite Anon says tracking events. Scope exceeds illegal spy campaign? Yes, it does. Why? 7th floor, FBI team removed and terminated. 7th floor is no more. Normal? What other investigations, same team, touch, alter outcome? How are other investigations bridged to illegal spy campaign? Bigger than you can imagine. There is a reason why this was leaked today. The election infection cannot stop what is coming. This post backs up the entire first segment of our show.
Yeah, I didn't write that. I don't want to hear it. Don't message me on Twitter. I didn't write this while he was talking. But it does fit into it because, I mean, anybody who's paying attention can agree with a lot of stuff that we've been saying as far as the aspects of these investigations. You turn over one rock, you get into another one. And I'm glad that our favorite Anon here is pointing this out because it is going to be bigger than they spied on my campaign, so I'm going after my political enemies. I believe that they're going to be able to prove such crimes, such heinous stuff that's going to justify why you see handcuffs and perp walks.
Absolutely. All right, so getting back to Dale's possible election infection. So last week, the U.S. government quietly updated their survival rates regarding if you are infected with the beer bug. If you are in the age bracket of 0 to 19 years of age, you have a 99.997% chance of expiring from the beer bug. If you are 20 to 49, it's 99.98%. If you are 50 to 69, it's 99.5%. And 70 and up, 94.6%. So basically, this is all a joke. This was completely contrived from the very beginning. The survival rates on this are easily better than the regular flu that they try to push on us for a vax every year. And this really hasn't been reported by anybody in the mainstream media. Now, I'm going to drop the actual CDC Gov link so that you guys can see this. Hold on to this, screenshot this information, and use it to red pill people who might tell you that you got to do your patriotic duty by wearing a face covering or, any other number of stupid things. 200,000 people are gone. These survival numbers right here directly conflict with the narrative that over 200,000 people have lost their lives as a result and that President Trump is directly responsible for them. Anybody who died, essentially, anybody over that 9,000 figure that we saw, is saddled with 2 to 3 other comorbidity diagnoses, okay? And that includes car wrecks, that includes lung cancer, heart disease, any number of other things. So, Dale, I think you're going to be fine, buddy, but I still want you to take care of yourself. There's no reason to take any chances, but I hope that these numbers give you just a little bit of peace.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely would love to talk about it, but we've got 2 more cues, man.
Okay.
Somebody says, and they're good ones.
Somebody says I said it backwards. I don't know what I said backwards, but let me go ahead and refresh this. Okay. So then, and Anon says, Red October coming, and our favorite Anon says, mark your depth 50 feet, zero bubble. And then we have a tweet from Representative Doug Collins, and it says, you can't hide from the truth, Durham is coming, and it's that Fox News article. And then there is a post that it includes the post from yesterday, let the truth be told, political spying illegal, less than 1%. Now, I was speculating that it was the number of people involved, but I think that our favorite Anon is actually saying that the charges that are coming out as a result of all these investigations equal less than 1% of the total illegal activity. What do you think about that one?
Right. I mean, there's so much more going on. It's just like what we've been talking about on the show, that there's a lot more than them just spying on the campaign. It's why they were spying on the campaign.
Exactly.
What was the point? What were they trying to hide? Now, for people asking or wondering what the make your depth 50 feet, zero bubble means, obviously we're talking about the submarine concept, get to the 50 feet.
You guys, I see my mistake. This is that was survival rates. I'm sorry. That was the chance that if you contracted the beer bug, that was the chance that you were going to survive. So essentially, it's almost 100% chance that you're going to survive. I apologize. Thank you very much for correcting me.
Yep. No problem there. Let me finish my point here, Red Pill. Make your depth 50 feet, obviously getting closer to the surface, and zero bubble has to do with submarines excel. And I'm just using the definition here for people. Used to mean that a submarine's bow is level or horizontal with the G vector, compare with up bubble, down bubble. So it's as far as, you know how like you use like a level when you're trying to balance something, whether you're like building something and you want to level it out. That's basically saying, you know, eye on the prize type stuff. We're leveling out, we're close to the surface, and we're getting to this point. I do believe that October is going to be the month that we will always remember for generations.
Absolutely.
I do believe that.
Yeah. So Red October this entire time is, I believe, pointing at this October. And our favorite Anon finishes it out by saying it is the only way. That justice being delivered by John Durham. This is the only way we can restore our country. It's happening, guys. You know, once again, it's just a matter of time. We just have to be patient. We just have to allow it to happen. This is really, we're on the verge of an incredibly transformative change taking place here in the United States. These people are going to pay for everything they've done. And all of this press that we've received over the last couple of years and all of the attacks that have been ramping up, they're going to be forced to eat the biggest crow pies that you could potentially make. I think it's going to be a big win for us, for our movement, for the truth, for justice, for America, for President Trump. And it will be a very, very bad day for the coup plotters and everybody who wanted to use and abuse the system we had in the United States for their own personal gain.
Right. And I see somebody in the chat made the comment that 50 feet, I can't remember what 50 feet may be torpedo depth.
Yes.
I'm looking at it real quick. And a ballistic missile submarine is a submarine capable of deploying submarine-launched ballistic to surface to launch their missiles, but modern vessels typically launch while submerged at keel depths of usually less than 50 meters or 160 feet. So that would be, if that I'm saying based off what I'm reading here. So that would be at a good launching, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a submarine fairy, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what we're leaning at here is that we would have to, and we've been saying this, that you would have to lay some haymakers to keep the media on their toes, make them deal with these things, the Democrats and all this, and what better way to have this stuff come out right before the election. And I think that we're going to see that. Will it be everything that we've been discussing? Probably not. I mean, there's just way too much corruption that needs to be handled. Think about what the Southern District of New York is handling alone. But I do believe that we're going to have a lot of stuff happening before the election. It's not just going to be where we are now, where Trump just keeps doing rallying its base and just taking people apart.
Okay, I Sell Cat Litter says periscope depth. Periscope depth. That's what 50 feet is. All right. And let's see, man. I'm so excited about this. This is going to be awesome. We've got so much more to cover. We're only going to be able to get through a certain portion of it. This is a nice little comic relief here. President Trump was asked about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle telling people to vote for Joe Biden. And President Trump said, "I wish a lot of luck to Harry because he's going to need it." Now, Meghan Markle has been notoriously outspoken against President Trump. And I think that he's throwing some shade at Meghan, and I think he's also maybe indicating that if President Trump wins, then there could be trouble in store for Harry himself. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle chimed in on the U.S. election and essentially encouraged people to vote for Joe Biden. I want to get your reaction to that.
I'm not a fan of hers. And I would say this, and she probably has heard that, but I wish a lot of luck to Harry, because he's going to need it.
Mr. President, the FDA.
Mr. President,
Meghan Markle is, I don't know, I wouldn't have considered her to be marriage material. We'll just leave it at that. Also, let's see, we got our donation on PayPal. Zoso, dude, what's up, Zoso? I got your email the other day. He accidentally went live during the, while he was on the road and Occam's Razor was on. Don't worry, I didn't consider it a personal slight, so don't worry. He said, listening to RP and M3 just melts the miles away. Can't chat while rolling, but love listening. Thanks to all my friends in the chat. Boys, keep rocking the news. Zoso, dude. Thank you very much, Zoso, dude. Appreciate you, brother. Okay, so next, oh man, we can't end the show today without talking about what's happening in St. Louis. You know, this is not a subject that I've covered too much here on the channel. It's just been, you know, one of a number of incidents like this, but last month there was a report that was released by the Louisville Police Department, and it went through the whole Breonna Taylor situation. Now, Breonna Taylor, I believe she was a paramedic. She was killed in a raid by the St. Louis police, or I'm sorry, Louisville police. Pardon me there, Louisville police. And they came in, they had a warrant. She was living with a drug dealer. She was also involved with another drug dealer. She helped to conceal the selling of drugs and the movement of money. She was involved in their illegal activity, and she was there when they came to bust this guy. Now, they came in, the guy that she was with started shooting at the police, and she ended up losing her life. Now, of course, because it's 2020, there has been an incredible amount of outrage. They've structured the narrative around this as if the police just entered without knocking and that it was not justified and that she was essentially, you know, murdered in her own home. I would say that if she hadn't put herself in that situation, there wouldn't have been the opportunity for her to lose her life. But either way, it's a tragic situation. Now, yesterday there was an announcement about charges against the officers. And there was one of 3 police officers in Louisville, Kentucky, that led to the death of Breonna Taylor that was indicted on criminal charges. His name is Brett Hankinson. He was fired in June, and he was indicted on 3 counts of wanton endangerment in the first degree. He was indicted after a grand jury went through the evidence. Nobody elaborated on the charges. An arrest warrant was issued for him. He was booked and released on $15,000 bail. Now, due to that decision, there was major unrest that popped off yesterday in Louisville. And once again, as Method said earlier, the fact that this happened on the same day this Hunter Biden story comes out, really, there's, you know, no coincidences here. Obviously, this is what the media is talking about. It allows them cover to not have to go over all the corruption being perpetrated by Hunter Biden throughout the years that his father was the vice president. But there was this interesting thing that happened. There was this woman, I'm not going to name her because I've already seen Twitter deleting accounts or suspending accounts for naming this person, but we'll call her Holly. We won't say her last name, but we'll call her Holly. She works for something called the Bail Project, and they collect money to bail out people who are involved in riots. Not only that, but she rented a U-Haul. And she filled it up with supplies for the rioters. She drove it there, and there was video footage of her opening the U-Haul and people running in and grabbing riot shields, grabbing, you know, implements of violence, grabbing bottles of water, stuff like that. Things that could help them, you know, be more effective in their rioting. Now, It's also come out that the Bail Project has, and once again, the Bail Project is directly connected to George Soros. Okay, this is a George Soros operation. They received between $350,000 and $1 million in Corona, in beer bug, PPP loans, the Paycheck Protection Loan, and so they used American taxpayer dollars to fund their project, to fund rioters and to bail rioters out of jail. Now, what also happened yesterday is that, with the rioting, there was a couple of police officers who were gunned down. There was, also Daily Caller reporters were arrested during the Louisville riot. I thought that was kind of interesting that reporters for the Daily Caller got arrested, but then the people actually doing the rioting weren't arrested. But there was this guy, Lorenzo Johnson. He was the shooter of 2 police officers during the riots in Louisville last night. He attempted to assassinate these officers. You can't frame it as anything else. But once again, I think that this guy is probably going to be lauded as some type of, vigilante hero or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to get out with the help of the Bail Project. And, it's just, once again, a sad commentary on the state of America, that they're allowing this stuff to happen and that they are fueling the flames of anger for these people by making it possible for them to commit as much damage as possible. And then Twitter seems to have a position on it as well, Methods. I mean, once again, Jack is currying favor with the left-wing militia.
Yeah, they're allowing these discussions to go on. Meanwhile, they're taking down conservative accounts for questioning the legitimacy of mail-in ballots and, vax stuff and all that mess. And what I think about it, they could have basically picked any situation, because these things happen. Like the Breonna Taylor thing happens, in different states. She probably shouldn't have been there. I hate for any life to be taken. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to degrade her itself on that fact. And skin color all aside, she shouldn't have been there. She should have known better. I see people in the chat saying that she was on the arrest warrant as well. I imagine that might be true.
Wait a second. Oh, yes. She was on there as well. Yes, because she was literally involved.
Right, yeah, and I'm just full disclosure, I didn't fully look into the brand of stuff like I did with maybe George Floyd. Just too many things happening at once, and I just assumed it was another case that they were just trying to make a deal about. And the convenience of the timing as well, because they had already had chatter a few days ago that they were going to release this information about what's going to happen to these police that were involved. And then I thought it was about to happen, and then they conveniently shifted it a day when there was chatter about the Senate report coming out. So once again, they were able to cover up all that because they have wall-to-wall coverage in between RBG and what went on with Breonna Taylor. And meanwhile, that was the biggest bombshell, because you have to think, we have a presidential candidate, one of 2 to be decided to run this country, and you're finding out his son was doing all those crimes and stuff under the watch of his father being the vice president before. Do you think that would be worth noting for the American voter that might be on the fence? You would want that, but instead you turn on the TV and cops are being shot, people are rioting and burning things, and the Supreme Court justice is dead. Mm-hmm. That's they're painting a picture. This, when they're making it look like this to the general public, that all this is happening because Trump is president.
Yep, exactly. And so Twitter, the day before the decision was even dropped, on Twitter, someone put out this tweet that said, Louisville, Kentucky will burn tonight. They were already planning, no matter what happened, to go ahead and burn down Louisville, Kentucky. That's what they were going to do, okay? Now, Twitter refuses to remove it. They consider it free speech, even though it's promoting arson. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and it's not the only tweet that came out, suggesting that people destroy property and businesses there in Louisville, Kentucky. But it is, par for the course again with what Twitter does. There was other ones that said burn it all down. I hope they burn Louisville down tonight. I hope they burn down the entire city of Louisville. And I don't even know anything about the provenance of these Twitter accounts. This could once again be a bit of predictive programming. People seeding that idea out. These could be people connected to the Bail Project. But, hopefully Holly and the Bail Project are going to get some charges against them, although I'm not going to hold my breath because police departments are essentially handicapped when it comes to enforcing the law right now, especially when you've got these Democrat cities. But unfortunately, this is the state of the nation. And I don't know what happened to these officers. Let me see. But he was wearing a Sugar Hill hoodie. The cop shooter, he was hiding behind BLM protesters when he fired at police. And Michelle Malkin actually published a video in slow-mo of the shooter as he struck the two officers. She called out some other news agencies, Reuters. She called out Reuters for misreporting the story. So good on you, Michelle. But this is just what's happening. And it's sad that they're willing to burn down cities, that they're willing to destroy businesses, all in order to push a political agenda. We're almost out of time.
Right. I'm just looking at this new Catherine Herridge thing that White Hat sent us real quick. I'm just going to read over it. It's in our DM if you want to go grab it.
Yeah, I got it.
Now, federal judge Randall D. Moss has denied a request by DOJ to dismiss a lawsuit brought by former Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, in which he claims he was unlawfully demoted and then fired due to political retaliation. The case will now move into a discovery phase, and that's what our buddy Whitehead is pointing out. Discovery phase, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Just that's another heads up on stuff real quick. And now I know that we're getting towards the end of the show. I'm going to do my shameless plug because I'm very, very proud of the show that me and Scott did yesterday. So those that I know that everybody here is aware, but I have my own YouTube channel. I do a show called Methods to Madness on Wednesdays and Fridays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Wednesdays, I have my buddy Scott from Woke Societies on, and we had, to me, our favorite show. We had a great time discussing, especially with all the Hunter Biden stuff coming out. So here's the link to my channel. If you guys don't mind checking it out, I think you guys would enjoy it. If you like this show, the kind of discussions, we do the same thing over there. And I appreciate the time, right, Bill?
Hey, absolutely. Now, this is something that I've suggested in the past, that perhaps we were looking at the posts. Maybe things were being given to us in reverse order. So we start with, the flagging of Hillary Clinton's passport. And then on November 3rd, we see things happening. And maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe that's going to happen this October, and then that's going to happen on this November 3rd. So that's just something we're going to have to see. All right, you guys, be back at 6 p.m. for probably closer to 7, just because it's, at 5. Be back at 5 for another episode of Red Pill News. I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to everybody who participated and everybody who supported my channel and Methods channel. And I love you guys. And then don't forget to be here this weekend for another exciting episode of Friday and Saturday Night Live Stream. And then we're back on Sunday with Comfy Sunday. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.